All right, I've come up here and I've clicked on lesson list and I've been grading my stuff, so I'm actually getting my little blue boxes as I go through. 12, fixing our duplicate data. Let's go do that. Now, if you remember, we have data, okay, that has Jane True in there twice. And this particular duplicate is hard to fix without a primary key, because a unique primary key, because everything about the row is listed twice. So if I go and run the select, you'll notice that we get, and I just selected the name list ID here. I could actually rerun this with a star, and we could get all the data. But you'll notice that most importantly, we have a unique ID because we've created a primary key on this that is different between the two. The rest of it, Jane True and Wyoming and ihw12 are all exactly the same. Now, we can use the primary key that's unique to clean up our data and eliminate our duplicate at this point. Now, names are not unique, but hopefully, you're not inserting exact duplicates. Usually that's not what you desired. And one of those ways that we can do this is we can actually pick out arbitrarily one of these two names. Now, when I do this, I'm just going to pick, you'll notice that in here there's : text, because remember, this is a UUID, and I can't do a minimum function on something that has no defined order like a UUID, but I can get the database to convert it to text and then do a minimum. When I do the minimum function on it, we're going to get one of these two IDs. Now, when I run it, I get the minimum ID. I didn't give it any fancy name, it just took the function name, but that minimum ID now can be used to get to one of the two, or to save one of the two, basically. Now, the delete is a little bit more complicated because I'd like it to be able to delete any duplicates. And generally speaking, this is the kind of a delete that you do when you've got duplicates in some data and you want to clean it up. Not because you have one row, which you could go delete by hand, but you've got a table with 150,000 rows and you know that 30 of them are duplicates somewhere. And this is causing you problems. So here's what you do. We're going to use the fact that there's a minimum, but we're going to do a delete. And in this case, I'm just looking for Jane True. But I could do this across the entire table. And the name list ID is not in the minimum. So I'm going to save the minimum ones, the first one that was inserted generally. It's not necessarily the first, because UUIDs are not sequential. But I'm going to run this. And when I get done, we will only have one Jane True, not two. Now, when I run it, I find that this deleted one. Now, generally speaking, the way that I would actually use this kind of a thing is I would go out and select and count the duplicates, run something like this where it doesn't say name equals Jane True, and just run it for all the duplicates, and then see that I deleted the correct number. And quite likely, I would actually make a backup of the data into another table if I could, or a backup of all the duplicate rows, so that if I goofed it up, I could actually undo it. And there are other ways of undoing it. You could run the delete inside a transaction where you check that you got the right number, and then if you didn't, roll it back. But usually a backup of the table will save you a lot of pain. So I gripped my grade button. It gave me 10 points. Okay. And that is a happy result.